This is Karen Ranzi of Feel Fabulous with Food, and I am here today with Dr. Akil Taher. Welcome, Dr. Akil. So wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
As you can see from Dr. Akil's background, that his focus for today is his story and his talk about the heart. Dr. Akil Taher is a practicing medical doctor, an author, eternal optimist, explorer, adventurer, and a strong advocate for a whole food, plant-based vegan lifestyle. He is a septuagenarian athlete who, after surviving heart bypass surgery, has educated thousands to understand a way out of the pain of chronic illness and disease. And he believes that what you eat is the most important pillar of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Dr. Taher knows and shares through his incredible story the life-changing benefits of living a whole food, plant-based vegan lifestyle, and it's more than what you may think. A passionate advocate for the whole food, plant-based vegan lifestyle, Dr. Taher shares his message of hope and possibility with audiences of all sizes, from conferences and college campuses to Rotary clubs and podcasts. He inspires others to embrace the power of plant-based nutrition for personal health, animal welfare, and the planet. Dr. Taher's book, Open Heart, the transformational journey of a doctor who, after bypass surgery at 61, ran marathons and climbed mountains. And it is available on Amazon, Kindle, and now on Audible, read in the author's own voice. And I'm looking forward now to asking you these questions. So for the first question, Dr. Akil, can you share a bit about yourself and what's keeping you busy right now these days?
Well, Karen, I am a practicing physician, telemedicine, living in Atlanta, Georgia. To start off, I wear 3 hats. My first hat is of a resurgent physician. That means I believe very strongly in treating the cause or preventing diseases, chronic diseases, rather than treating it after it has happened, the consequence of the disease. Number 2 hat that I wear is I am a heart disease survivor. That means I know what heart disease patients are going through. And number 3, I'm a septuagenarian athlete. I became an athlete at the age of 61, and I'm 76 right now. But starting late means that age is not a limiting factor for somebody to change their lifestyle. It can be at any age. After a hiatus of about 6 months due to a family health emergency, I've come back to share my heart healthy message all around. So I have started very recently of Shop and Cook with the Doc. I am no gourmet cook. Neither am I going to give you a gourmet meals recipe. You got enough on site to go there and see that. I am talking about simple everyday meals that we can cook. I may make mistakes, my spoon may fall down, I may try to pick it up, but that is the reality. So I'm going to do that every once a month. I also have my Friday talks where I talk about chronic diseases, and then I let it be a questions from anywhere, and I try to answer most of those. And finally, what I've been doing lately is in the month of December, I joined the Atlanta Outdoor Club. So what we do is we go on a 5 to 7 miles hike every week. And at the same time, we have a potluck. So about once in 3 weeks, we have a potluck. I carry whole food plant-based. They are not all whole food plant-based, but so far, Karen, lucky that they all enjoy what I bring them. So that's a
Wonderful.
starting point of changing them.
Wonderful. Wow, it sounds like you're pretty busy, Dr. Akil. What were some of the challenges and breakthroughs that you experienced before and after your open heart surgery?
Karen, till the age of 61, I created my own unhealthy lifestyle. Let me take you back to where I grew up in the city Mumbai in India. This was not affected with Western culture and Western diet at that time. In this, we are talking about 60s and 70s. So I grew up in a lower middle class family. So what was the good point? We could not afford meat, eggs, and dairy. So we sustained on whole grains and just one veggie a day, but that was enough for us. So indirectly, it helped me. I went to school and I saw the other children having the chicken and this and that. I wondered, am I getting enough protein? That was my thinking then, that I was not getting enough of what I was supposed to be getting. Then, and I was in sports. So I used to play cricket, which is akin to your baseball. And I also did soccer at that time when I was young. Then I went to medical school. It was a Gandhian medical school. That means everything was vegetarian, but lots of oil, lots of dairy, and lots of sweets. Then, as a young doctor, I moved over to the Middle East in Bahrain, where the thing was organized by the American University of Beirut. That was when the trouble started. Eggs and dairy and sweets in the morning, lamb kebabs and chicken kebabs in the afternoon, and even some more at night. We worked only in the morning. It was too hot. So everybody had a huge lunch, and then we had a 2 hours sleep. So we got up and we started socializing, more food and more drink. That is when my health started to go down, but I did not feel it because I was young, did not manifest at that time. So when I came over to America, I worked very hard. I came pretty late at the age of 40. So was trying to live up to the American dream. And what could I do? I worked very hard, but the price was that I could not pay attention to my health, my friends, and my family. And I ate like no one's business. I had everything at sight. And that was a kind of a situation where if was not eating or not working hard, I would be lounging on the couch watching the TV. And trust me, Karen, I was a type A personality. Everything had to be under my control. It was my way or the highway. And then on top of it, having genetics which are challenging. I was born with a conduction defect. It's an accessory pathway in my heart, Wolff Parkinson White syndrome. And then my brother died at a young age of 52 of a stroke. My mother and sister succumbed to heart disease at the age of 69. So I was at the back of mind thinking that maybe one day I will get it too. So with all this, and then lately I found out that I have that everybody talks about it now, the little LPA, LP little a, sorry. And that is what I have, very high numbers. So with all this came stress, immense stress. I got blockages, they put stents, and I had a cardiac arrest. So they had to shock me to get my heart beating again. That brilliant doctor who saved me died of a massive heart attack while he was exercising 2 years after he saved me on his treadmill when he was exercising. He was only 48. So then comes a time that when it happened, I was scared. But what did I think? Medical science will carry me over. I was scared, but still hoping that medical science. But it did not happen. And very few people realize this, that if you have a major event like that, it is followed by depression, isolation, dejection, and all sorts of things which can bring more physical problems, sinus infections, pneumonia, and the infamous diverticulitis, which perforated twice in my case. I was admitted to the hospital. So obviously the stents failed. In 5 years were most horrendous years of my life. This is the first time I talk about it. Adversity can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. At this point, it was my worst enemy. Then I went on to as I was being taken, wheeled in, I told the nurses that I would do a half marathon in a year's time. Till today, I don't know why I said that. But now looking back, I think because I had only two choices left, Karen. One was to continue this horrific end of life and live on the rocking chair, live vicariously through my children and grandchild, or to make a conscious, real conscious decision that I am going to take a next step and not only survive, but thrive and live with passion and purpose. I chose the latter. So I was wondering, I started eating better. My recovery was superb. I was on a treadmill on the very third day after my surgery. And then I took up running. Running to me became meditation in motion. I loved to hear the sounds of waterfalls and birds chirping, and I enjoyed running. So I promised the nurses. So in 7 months, my wife and I went to Nashville and I ran my first half marathon, which took me 4 grueling hours, but my bruised heart carried me over. So this is how I came across my journey, which was in the second half, after my heart surgery, adversity became my best friend.
Mm, wonderful story. Why do you believe that the diet part, the dietary piece of what you did, was even more important than the exercise?
What inspired me to go on a whole food plant-based diet, Karen, was because even though I was exercising and eating healthy, I was not a plant-based, and I was doing meditation and yoga, and I was on the treadmill on the very third day running, but I was still getting diseases. I was still getting my diverticulosis. I was still getting sinus congestion, and I was wondering why. So I started doing research, and I tried to do research to figure out ways to heal the body without solely relying on medicines and surgery. So I started reading medical journals, science papers, met my colleagues. And the more I read, the more I realized there was something here. And that was when I came across the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, being the nutrition being the major part of it.
Can you tell me about those pillars?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. See, the pillars, if you look at it, I always say that the main pillar is nutrition, and the rest of it actually are there to help, but they have to work in tandem. They have to all work together to get the best maximum output, health output. So, your first one is your nutrition. Now, nutrition means a whole food plant-based SOS if you can do it. If you can do raw, even better. So I believe in that. And imagine the amount of things that you can get out of it. You get high amount of fiber, which we are not taking enough. 15 grams is what an American takes. I believe people say 38 grams. I say go up to 60 grams, 80 grams, 100 grams fiber. Fiber decreases your cholesterol. Fiber improves your gut bacteria. Fiber helps you not to get severe COVID to land up in a hospital. You have no saturated fat and cholesterol in your plant-based. So that's another thing. So we have no saturated fat, no cholesterol. We've got immense amount of fiber. We've got probiotics, natural probiotics, not the pills that we pop in. And the prebiotics, the fiber, the soluble fiber and the insoluble fiber. So keep your diet, even with people who are hardcore carnivores. I tell them, try to be a flexitarian. Cut back on your meat, eggs, and dairy and increase your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, whole grains, legumes, beans, and also snack on nuts and seeds and carrots and celery. So this is the part of nutrition that not only it helps in the chronic diseases because each time you take something like this and you live on a whole food plant base, your endothelium in your coronary arteries now start producing nitric oxide. And this nitric oxide is a very powerful substance which not only dilates the coronary artery, it keeps the blood flowing smoothly and protects the arterial wall so it does not get rigid so that you don't have high blood pressure later on. So this is a number one thing that everybody and anybody should do is go towards a plant base, take baby steps or go cold turkey, whatever you want to do. Then comes your exercise, your sleep, your avoidance of substance abuse, your stress levels, how to handle, and a robust social support. So this is basically the six pillars. I mean, I can go on for an hour talking about the six pillars of lifestyle medicine, but in essence, this is that. And then when you asked me, I think that why is diet more important than exercise? See, you can't outrun your diet. You take a single piece of pizza, slice of pizza. It has got 300 calories, and you need intense running for 30 minutes to burn off that. You take a large soda, and you got 250 calories. You need to do 25 minutes of active cycling to negate that. So my point is that consuming high calorie junk food can add up faster than exercise can compensate. So that is why. And another thing that a lot of people don't know this, that our cells have the DNA, pairs of DNA, 46 pairs of DNA, which are coiled together as chromosomes. Each chromosome has a telomere, a little tip on top. And these telomeres shorten and shorten as the cells divide, as you grow older. And then when there are no more telomeres, you die. What they found is that the whole food plant-based diet is the only one that keeps the telomere from not shortening that fast. And they did a study. And if you remember Dr. Blackburn, Elizabeth Blackburn, who was Nobel Prize when she discovered this enzyme, telomerase. What happens is they did a study in which people were given very restricted calorie diet and intense exercise. Yes, they did lose weight, but the telomeres did not grow. That means they were not having a whole food plant-based diet.
Mhm.
It's only the plant-based, whole food plant-based diet that increases your telomeres.
Yeah. And so having those longer telomeres creates longer life.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. And
Excellent.
longer life is not only we are talking about a longer lifespan, but we are talking about a longer health span because most of us, the last 20 years of our lives are often miserable.
Very low quality. Yes. Yeah, a lot of people say to me, Karen, why do you eat whole food, plant-based and raw food? We're all going to die. Why bother? And I say that I want to have the highest quality of life while I'm alive. And that's exactly what you're talking about here is having excellent health while you are on this planet. And that's what we want. We don't want to be sick for the remaining 20 years of our life.
You are so right because I was just giving a talk the other day, a few days back, on active aging. If you are healthy enough in your older age, you're less dependent on your family and friends, and you're independent doing your own things.
Dr. Akil, what are the common traits of chronic diseases and why do they seem so prevalent today?
When we talk about common diseases, what do we think about? Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, certain cancers, obesity, and some more. But these are the common chronic diseases that I encounter 80% of my practice. Now, what do they have in common? All have an oxidative process where oxidation radicals. Then you have inflammation, overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system that causes a chronic depression eventually. Then disturbance of the gut bacteria, genetics, that plays an important part, and also shortening of the telomeres as you grow. This is all common to these diseases, plus your immune system goes down. So, when you consider all these aspects, heart disease is the number one killer, the leading cause of death in this world and in America too. But what causes more? It is your diet that is the leading cause of heart disease. That is the leading cause of death. If your diet is full of processed foods, and every American takes about 15 to 16 teaspoonful of sugar a day, 3.5 grams of salt per day, a cup of milk, regular milk, has the same saturated fat and cholesterol as an ounce of meat. So why? Why go into all these? These are what I keep telling people. If you follow the whole food plant based, you get your endothelium in all your arteries, which we've got 50,000 miles of arteries running in our body. And these things will now produce nitric oxide, not only in your heart, which will help you in your brain, because something happens in your brain, you get stroke. Something happens in your kidney, you get kidney disease. Something happens in your penile arteries, you get erectile dysfunction. So it is on and on. All these chronic diseases can be taken. And think about it. How many times people have said, oh, but we should eat less, not in plant-based food, you eat as much as you want, you're not going to put on weight.
That's one of the reasons why I love this way of eating so
I
much,
know.
because you can be a foodie and you can eat in abundance.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, Karen.
Yes, to be able to enjoy your food, not have to focus on the calorie percentage on your plate, but just focus, like what you said, Dr. Akil, focusing on the fiber. You're getting so much fiber from these whole plant foods. And Dr. Akil said no SOS, SOS being the salt, the oil,
Oil.
the sugar. Looking back, Dr. Akil, would you have chosen stents or open heart surgery if you had known then what you know now?
Very interesting question. I would have looked at other options. And Karen, let me explain this. I think that your viewers should understand this. blockages don't cause heart attacks. It is what type of blockage in atherosclerosis you have, what type of plaques you have, that is very dependent on a heart attack. If you have got soft, friable plaques that can break and go to a certain part of the heart, block that part of the heart, you get a heart attack. It causes an emboli. When you have a hard plaque, it will not break. It takes decades to form. My plaques were 98% and 99% in two of my arteries, but they were hard, very hard. My cardiologist had to use a diamond tip drill to shave off the plaques. That means my plaques would have never broken and lodged somewhere to get me a heart attack. So had I known then what I know now, I would have not gone in because I was not having a heart attack. I was having angina. So if I had taken a whole food plant-based SOS diet at that time, followed it strictly, then even though I had plaques in my coronaries would have dilated. Flow of the blood would be there. And with my diet, the collaterals, angiogenesis, new blood vessels would form, which are formed now because of my diet. And they would supply me blood even if there was a plaque. But basically, my coronaries would have dilated and the blood flow would be there in spite of the plaque being there. And then eventually, over a period of years, people have done some studies, the plaques slowly start disappearing. My explanation as to why I would not have had it.
Yes, and how the whole food plant-based way of eating would have gradually modified it for you so that it would have improved and prevented the heart attack.
Correct. And the point I'm making is somebody who has acute chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, and getting a heart attack, please don't wait for a carrot stick at that time. You have to call 911 and get the things done. Go to the ER, get your EKG done, your blood work done, and get your blood thinners and get your stents. That's a no-no. Whereby, if you are having angina, then you can discuss with your doctor.
You have a wonderful book called Open Heart. And I was very fortunate to meet you at the NHA conference about a year and a half ago, the National Health Association. And I have your book, Open Heart. And can you give me what some of the key takeaways would be that you would like your readers to gain, and also where they can find your book, Open Heart?
See, Open Heart is a book that I wrote during the COVID time, where I was home and my patients and my friends told me, why don't you put it down in words? I was not a writer, but so it took me a long time to write that. So once I wrote that, the important thing is you can get this book on Amazon. You can just go on Amazon, Akil Taher, or you can do akiltaher.com and go to my website, and they will tell you how to get the book. But this is a transformation journey of a 61-year-old like me who, after a bypass, started climbing mountains and doing marathons. But it is also an invitation for the reader to experience that agony of living in an exhausted body with insurmountable health problems, diverticulitis, and all that, heart disease, and how I overcame all this mainly with the help of nutrition, but also with exercise, meditation, yoga, and other things. It also helps the reader how not to get heart disease, how to prevent getting heart disease, how to learn from my mistakes. And I have been extremely open. I want people who read this book also to be open about their misgivings, because if I am not to be open, they would not. So when I am so open about my mistakes, they should be open, and they can also come to terms with those faults of theirs. It is also a book of inspiration and motivation. Quite a lot of self-deprecated humor. Age is not a limiting factor for anybody to change their lifestyle. And finally, if you do feel, for whatever reason, whether medical or otherwise, you feel that you are really going down in an abyss and you don't know how to get out of it, read this book. It'll not only bring you up to ground level, but will make you soar up to heights that you did not think that you were possible in doing. Food can either fight disease or feed disease. Nutrition or a diet is more important than exercise. Adversity can be your best friend or your worst enemy. First part, it was my worst enemy. Next part was my best friend. Adventure can either hurt you, but monotony will kill you. When I mean adventure, I don't mean going to Count Mount Kilimanjaro, but living outside your comfort zone. Take up something. In the COVID days, I took up cooking and I took up gardening. But my wife, she takes up mahjong and we do bridge and things. There's so many different things outside your comfort zone. And then I love to tell people this, that do something that is really very frightening, and death of fear will be certain. And finally, this may sound a little odd, but an uninteresting truth may sometimes be eclipsed by a brilliant lie. Why I say that is because in my 100-mile bike ride, it was gale force winds, and that to change the final 10 miles, reroute it because people were falling off the bridge and this. And I was there. I think I was almost 67, 68, and I was trying my level best to keep up. And my friend was with me and my trainer. So I said, look, I can't do it. There was nothing in my body that was not hurting. So I said, I can't do it. I'm going to give up at 90 miles. And she turned around and said, you know what, Akil? It's only 3 miles. Who said it was 10 miles? And I said, okay, let me go ahead. And we finished the 10 miles. That's why I say sometimes a brilliant white lie is okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akil, for talking about your story. And this book, Open Heart, is really a gift. And I wish that other medical doctors, cardiologists would give this information to their patients. As both a physician and a whole food plant-based advocate, what advice would you give to those in their 30s and 40s who are building careers under stress and often compromising on their health?
These people who are in their 30s and 35s, the first thing I would say is don't take a gamble with your lives because your atherosclerosis streaks of cholesterol starts at the age of 10 to 12. You don't know it. So it manifests later on in 50s and 60s at that time. So don't take that as try to change earlier because later you change, it is worse. Number two, you have stress, everybody has stress. You may be having more stress as young people, but learn how to handle stress. There are means. You can do meditation, mindful meditation, yoga. Even if you don't do meditation, just 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening, just get away from everywhere and just sit alone. Don't meditate, but don't do anything. Just sit. That'll help you. The point is that don't carry your stuff from work at home. People work from home too, but don't talk about it. Once your work is done, A lot of people have this thing, oh, then they have this thing, they discuss with their spouse, then they discuss with their children, then they discuss with everybody, oh, what happened in work? Please don't. They are not interested in you. And you are getting them in your circle of feeling bad. So don't do that. Just take it off and let it be. Stress is an overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system, whereby your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. It's good for acute stress. When this happens when somebody's snatching your purse, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, you start breathing heavy. But this all comes down back to normal. Now, if this keeps on happening every single time, once in 3, 4 days, and keeps on, then you get chronic overstimulation. That's where your cortisol levels increase. That's when you start eating more. That's when you get depression. That's when you get obesity. And avoid alcohol. I mean, this is my first show that I will be telling you this. I used to have a glass of wine for the last 25, 30 years, not the 5 ounce, 3.5 ounce every single day. That was me time. But I gave up totally. And I find that the pros are far greater of giving up than the cons. So the point I'm making is of giving up alcohol. Alcohol, if you are drinking alcohol for increasing your good cholesterol or other benefits and this or glass of red wine, forget it. It is not doing good for anybody. Number one. Number two, the moment I stopped, I started sleeping better.
Interesting.
I definitely started sleeping better. And I've written an article on sleep in the National Health Association.
I read that.
I am a true example that it does no good. If you have not ever had alcohol, don't start. If you've had, give it up. Now, if there is a celebration, this is my viewpoints, not if celebration and somebody takes a toast of champagne, a sip, I have no problems.
What are your thoughts on incorporating raw foods into a whole food, plant-based diet and lifestyle? Because
I
I believe
believe,
strongly in that. Wanted to get your take on it.
I really, really believe in raw food, plant-based diet. Trust me, if I could do it, I would do it. So what I've done is, my breakfast aside, my lunch is raw food. My dinner is still not raw food, it's cooked food.
Mhm.
But why would I not have raw foods? Because they're nutrient dense. They're minimally processed, low in calories, low in fat, low in cholesterol. The minerals, antioxidants, vitamins. Somewhere I read recently that there were an enzyme. These enzymes are very important in food. And when you cook it at about 120 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that, you destroy these enzymes, which are very helpful. And also, if you eat raw foods, there's a lot of hydration. Say, for example, a celery stick, a carrot stick, or a cucumber that helps you with that. Sprouted beans and greens. Oh, I love that. It can be sprouted broccoli or sprouted beans or excellent source of various nutrients. When you cook meat at very high temperatures, you have what is called produces amines. These are carcinogenic, cause cancer. Similarly, vegetables cooked also may produce what was the word? Acrylamide.
Acrylamides, yes, especially
Acrylamide,
complex carbohydrates.
which can be harmful to your body. Then I started plant-based foods, and especially when I take raw foods, I feel I feel very vibrant. The clarity of my thoughts are much better. Emotionally, I'm much better off. And being a sports person and septuagenarian athlete, my preparation time, my performance time, and my recovery time all have decreased. I believe that, Karen, but it'll take me time to reach that stage.
Yes, but it sounds like you're increasing your raw food. Thank you so much for all this valuable information. I hope that many people will watch this video and your inspiring story of having bypass surgery and really having these incredible marathons. What mountain did you hike?
Both Mount Kailash and Mount Kilimanjaro,
Wonderful,
both at 19,000 plus feet. You know
wonderful.
that Mount Kailash, I got to tell you something. That was when I climbed, it was a journey not only upwards and forwards, but inwards. Because I'll tell you why. When you reach that 19,000, you do parikrama. You go round the mountain. Okay? And when you reach that, it is called the Dolma Pass. When you reach there, everybody will start congratulating and saying high-fiving. But I wanted isolation. I wanted to go away from all this and sit on a stone. It was horrendous 3 days. I mean, the same clothes, and you were just cold, and there was hail. And I sat and I thought, would I survive with all the material things that I have back home? I'm very peaceful right now. A certain peace came over me, a kind of feeling that you cannot express, but only feel it. When I came down from Mount Kailash in Tibet, China, came down, my wife noticed the difference. She said, something happened up there. I said, no. She says, your type A personality is mellowed down.
Mm,
Such are the wonders. I can't explain, but it is true.
beautiful. Thank you so much for answering these questions, for your amazing inspiration. I would love for so many people to hear this so that they can prevent heart disease from happening to begin with. Can you tell us how you can be found?
Well, if you the best way to do is akiltaher.com. And I reply to everybody who writes me on that. So akiltaher.com. That's the best way to reach me. If somebody, and I go ahead and say, if somebody cannot reach their physician in time and they don't know and they want an important question to be answered, don't tell me that I've got constipation and what do I do? No, I'm not asking for those, but something that is wanting an answer and you cannot get your doctor. Text me first because I don't answer calls and say that I was on Karen Ranzi and this is my question. So
I'm
that
going
can
to
be
put all of your links in the
correct.
description underneath the video. So anybody who watches this and you want to connect with Dr. Akil, just go below and you'll see the links in the description. Very easy to click on those links and
And,
to contact him.
and the last thing I want to say is you're doing a wonderful job, Karen. Keep at it. You
Thank you
you
so
are doing
much.
so much for so many people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And it is my passion, like I know it is yours, to help people and especially bringing forth the powerful message of whole food, plant-based nutrition. And of course, I am also into the raw food part of it. And I'm so excited that you're positive about that as well. And I want to thank anybody who came and listened to this YouTube show today, because I think if you follow this way of living, that there will be no turning back.